Animal Crossing first released in 2001 for the GameCube. Or did it? Hello and welcome to the Cut Content Of, a show where we try to find content that you aren't able to see in some amazing games. This episode we're looking into the charm-filled life simulation game from Nintendo that is Animal Crossing. It's been released on most Nintendo systems and even has a spin-off for iOS and Android devices, but today we're just looking at the version released on the GameCube. Well, mainly. The game actually first released exclusively in Japan for the Nintendo 64 as Doubutsu no Mori, literally meaning animal forest. You may know that it was originally designed for the N64 disk drive add-on, using the built-in clock, but when that ended up being a massive commercial failure, they added a battery-powered clock to the cartridge and released it for the regular N64. So let's actually jump into this Japanese version and see what's been left behind. There's a level select screen that you're able to get to with this really long game chart code. Holding R and selecting the second option you're given each time will load the menu. In total, there are 35 different options. Here are some of the ones we found most interesting. First is Field Course 1, with 5 NPCs, a bulletin board, a hill with pitfalls on it, loads of trees, a floating train, and more. Field Course 2 has a few more NPCs, no trees, some copies of Nook's Cranny, some player houses, and a weird yellow cube. The third and final level in the Field Course series is imaginatively named Field Course 3, with Copper roaming around, some pitfalls, some apples, some tree stumps in a rectangular formation, a second floating train, and a villager who can walk on water. The 7th level is NPC Arranged Room, which is a room with some paintings, gyroids, and other furniture items. The 10th one is Nook's Cranny with nothing in it, other than Tom himself. Levels 21, 22, and 23 are 3 different sizes of homes. Number 33 is a town with glitched out houses. Finally, number 34 allows you to walk around in the title screen. Some debugging tools can be accessed with this game chart code. It shows the build date on the title screen and shows other information with different inputs using the D-pad and C-stick on the second player controller. This other game chart code shows some memory usage bars too. There's also a crash debugger, which when the game crashes can be accessed by using this code. It shows a few pages of white text on a black background, and then a red page with some pretty broken English. When this is done with the second controller, another debug mode can be viewed. That's all that isn't normally seen in the original N64 version, but there are a few differences between this version and the final GameCube release that we all know and love. The original N64 version, when booted up, would show an N64 logo being dropped like furniture, with different colours each time it's seen, but versions after just have a boring Nintendo logo. The final game for the GameCube released somewhere between 2001 and 2004, depending on which country you're in. There's an unused NPC, commonly known by fans as Blazel, as she looks a bit like a mix between the villagers Bliss and Hazel. However, in the files for the Japanese version, her name can be found and translates to Chestnut. Chestnut may actually have been a cut special character rather than a cut villager, as her file name is AC_EV_Dokutu, meaning Actor Event Dokutu. Crazy Red and Sahara both have EV in their file name, possibly meaning that Chestnut was a travelling character similar to them. Dokutu may also be short for Dokutoru, meaning doctor. She can replace one of your villagers through the use of this action replay code. Her text will default to one of Cappen's bits of dialogue and has a garbled name with a key symbol, which is the default name for unknown special characters. It's so odd due to the fact that Japanese text cannot be displayed. Possibly one of the most interesting pieces of cut content is the fact that there's an entire NES emulator that can be made to play any game through hacks. You may already know that you can normally obtain up to 19 NES consoles that allow you to play specific games, and one that when you try to play it says that you don't have any software. But actually, the game scans the memory card and will run a ROM if it finds one, but never normally does. Through hacks, ROMs can be added to the memory card and can be opened in-game. There are also 5 more games mentioned in the files, but without ROMs, including Super Mario Bros. 2 and Mahjong. The original game's level select screen is also in the GameCube version, accessible with these action replay codes. A new player selection screen has been added, and can be accessed with this action replay code. This longer one translates it into English. Picking a player that hasn't been created yet will just make a new one, starting on the train. There are a whole load of unused items that can be hacked into the player's inventory. 8 clothing items are available, and can be added to your inventory with this action replay code for the NTSC version of the game. There's the plum kimono, somber robe, red sweatsuit, blue sweatsuit, red puffy vest, blue puffy vest, summer robe, and bamboo robe. There are a bunch of furniture items too, but most just appear as a white triangle with red Japanese text saying dummy. Some unused text exists in the game for the post office, saying, "I'm terribly sorry, but since E3 is being held today, we're not accepting any letters. I apologise for the inconvenience." There's also, "E3 is being held today, we don't save letters during E3, we're just too busy." Nintendo may have intended to use these for the day of E3, or maybe they were just intended for an E3 demo. Other pieces of unused text include test line of text, translate, which is found alongside catchphrases for villagers, this is mail 0 and this is mail 1, which are found with other mail data. There are also a couple of poorly written error messages, and a piece of text crediting one of the developers. This can also be found in the Game Boy Advance's BIOS. Speaking of the Game Boy Advance, the Animal Island minigame for the Game Boy Advance also has a bit of unused content. There are some unused sprites for some letters and numbers, and some other unused graphics with Japanese text, possibly for text input. They translate to hiragana, symbols, katakana, English, numbers, next/back, erase, end, change, and set. There are also some other instances of unused text in here too. Some text references the tailor shop, likely meaning the Able sisters, text saying dummy, a file directory for a text file called cuckoosegg.txt. The meaning of this is unknown. Also, there's some text for cuckoosegg.idx. And there's also some text saying nest.save, possibly for nest save files. Thanks for watching this episode of the Cut Content Of. Why not subscribe and click or touch here to watch another episode from our Nintendo Games playlist.